This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello out there. Welcome to episode 152 of the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sedita. Today we have the pleasure of being joined by Oliver Orlicki. Sorry, I almost messed it up. I was looking at the name of the company.
All good.
Oliver Orlicki of the Orlicki Group. He's the co-founder. Ollie, how you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How about yourself, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good. This is kind of our, we're going to break down the fourth wall here like Deadpool. This is our remake of a podcast because we tried doing a podcast during some sort of what do they call that? Electronic, probably it was a cyber attack somewhere that caused our whole podcast to go up in flames. But we're taking two here to try to get your information out there so people know what you do, just so you know what we do in the community. So the Good Neighbor Podcast was started in 2020 as a way for businesses like yours to get their information out to the community when everybody had to be socially distant. Now, 4 years later, we have podcasts in Denver, Atlanta, Philadelphia, of all places, and we're here in Tampa. And it gives me an opportunity to talk to guys like you and find out what makes you successful. So first off, tell us a little bit about the Orlicki Group and what you guys do.
I absolutely love to. So my name is Oliver Orlicki. I'm the team lead and co-founder of the Orlicki Group. My wife, Allison Richner, is my business partner. The Orlicki Group is a bespoke concierge mortgage brokerage based out of the Tampa Bay area. So I've been in the mortgage industry since 2001. Been a broker since I started in the business and have never looked back. We started during COVID, like yourself, when we realized that the mortgage experience has become a very gamatized experience. There's very little interaction between the borrowers and the people they're working with. So we really want to make our borrowers not feel like they were a social security number and a name. We really want them to feel like that this is a relationship, and we're a relationship business. 95% of the business we do are referral-based referrals and from our real estate agents and past customers. So we are trying to not reinvent the wheel, but we're trying to make the wheel run a lot smoother. We hold our clients' hands from contract to close.
Well, from the sounds of it, it really sounds like you're like the anti, and I don't like to name drop other businesses on the podcast, but like you're the anti-rocket mortgage, right?
We are.
I'm not just going to see an 800 number and call an 800 number, fill out a fill-out form, and get a list of approval potentials back. It's going to be, hey, let me learn a little bit about what your background is. Let me, understand your pain points so we can make the process go smoother.
100%. I mean, 35% of our customers are first-time home buyers. They've never been through this experience. And, Rocket Mortgage is Rocket Mortgage. They close thousands and thousands of loans a month. And, they throw a bunch of stuff up against the wall and hope it sticks. You're talking to usually people in call centers across the country that are, no offense to Rocket, are, beginner-based mortgage professionals. I've been doing this for over 23 years. And you and I spoke about this on the last podcast. We'll bring up this one. I've been through some crazy market cycles. I went through the housing crisis in Florida. I went through the financial crisis. I've been through COVID. So I've seen the ups and downs of this market, and it is a pretty bananas industry to be in. We are now coming out of the highest interest rates we've seen in over 40 years. Things are starting to gently but slowly stabilize, which is nice. Rates are starting to finally drift down, but home prices have shot through the roof, especially in the Tampa Bay area.
It's funny so I've owned an ad agency for years. And at one point, my small little agency, at the time when this occurred, we were working out of my partner's basement. Wow. And we ended up getting to do an RFP for a client who had a huge agency. And I'm not going to name drop the name, but they're one of the bigger agencies in the United States that does media. And they had put a fresh out of college, zero experience putting together a marketing plan person on this account. And when they put their plan together, they put options for this company to take that no longer existed. Basically, they needed to do certain trade magazines, and they just rubber stamped this proposal based on a previous proposal and put actual options that were no longer available. So for the longest time, our pitch became the same thing that you're talking about. Like with us, we're not the big mega company that has all these bells and whistles, but we're lean, we're mean. You're getting two people who have done this for a long period of time and know what they're doing and have seen the things like you've seen with the markets. You're not going to get the D team. You're going to get the A team when you come to us, and that's what you're getting. And it's that that's what I think a lot of people in today's day with technology is great. There's so many great things you can do with technology. But what I think a lot of people are starting to yearn for is that personal touch and personal connection to interacting with businesses that they're going to do business with. And that's got to be a big component to what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just a name and number to us. We literally take you through the process. We educate you. We answer questions. We provide information. It's not just you fill out an application, you give us a bunch of documents and go out and shop for a home. We're in a volatile market. We're in a crazy housing market. And the economy is crazy right now. So we hold literally the customer's hand from the point of where they call us to the point of when they close, and then we service them afterwards. Most of our clients come to us when they're buying second homes, third homes, when they're graduating, when their kids are graduating from school, and they want to step down and buy something smaller when their kids are buying places. So all those things being said and done, we like to really, there's no one shoe fits all in this business. It's not like, you're a 1099 employee and this person's a W-2 employee and everybody fits within the same box.
Right.
Everybody has their own goals and objectives. And the biggest thing that I think a lot of people in my industry look at people is as a commodity. Mortgages are a commodity, but it's really a relationship just like anything else. You mentioned your previous life, you were, into stockbrokering and stuff like that. We all sell money and we all sell the same money. It's how that money is delivered to you in the process and the experience that you have. And the reason why you're talking to me and the reason why we get a lot of our business, you can Google us, you can find us on Zillow. We have 800 five-star reviews for a very, very small company, which is extraordinary. And it just shows on our expertise, our process, and our hand holding. And everybody seems to appreciate that. And that's why they come back to us and they send their friends, family, and so forth.
So let me ask you this: for you personally, tell us a little bit of your background. Have you always wanted to be like a finance guy? Were you always like mortgage? Hey, listen, I want to put people in homes.
No,
what were you doing? How'd you get here?
Yeah, so I went to University of Florida, go Gators. I was a mass comm and journalism major. I'm a diehard sports fan to the core, and I wanted to be the next Dan Patrick or Keith Olbermann, ESPN. I see myself watching ESPN and SportsCenter, and I wanted to be that guy. Started looking for jobs when I graduated college and realizing you have to be a 1 in a million to make any money in my business, unless you want to start writing papers and obituaries and covering high school baseball in small towns. And not like there's anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Dude, man, you got to do your 10,000 hours.
Exactly. So I got into financial services straight out of school, took my Series 7, got licensed up, and started working for, at the time, American Express had a financial planning division that I started working for. Then I moved over to MetLife. Was literally making probably 1,000 cold calls a week to call what they call orphan leads, people that were either dead or haven't claimed their insurance money. I would go to their spouses or their kin and I would say, hey, listen, we have this money, let's reinvest it. 9/11 hits and I'm in Tampa, Florida, sitting in my boss's office about to pitch a huge insurance policy. And we saw the planes fly into the World Trade Center. And at that point in time, the markets crashed, but rates came down because everybody was moving their assets out of stocks into bonds and interest rates started coming down. And, we're talking rates were in the double digits. So, when we talk to people now with 6-7%, they're like, wow, that's high. When I got into business, we were at 10-12%. Yeah. That's high. And I realized a bunch of my friends were getting into the mortgage industry. Like, I'm working a third of the hours, making 3 times as much money. And that's where my mortgage career started. And I started literally with a phone book, a pencil, and a pen. And my boss said, call all the A's. And you would just call through. And this is when refinancing really started getting big. And I was just making literally 1,000 phone calls. I, got my teeth kicked in 990 times, but the 10 times I got the yeses are the best things in the world. And, it taught me how to sell. So that was my kind of intro into the mortgage industry.
Well, it's funny. That's what keeps you coming back, right? It's the 900 no's or hang-ups or don't call me or whatever. But then when you get that one person that you're able to help, and it kind of restores your faith and recharges your battery to do another 900. You know what I mean? Like the numbers aren't that extreme. But then the nice thing about the mortgage side of it versus being a stockbroker is when you're making those 100 calls a day as a stock, 120 calls a day as a stockbroker, it's, hey, Mr. Smith, my name's Oliver. I have this great investment opportunity. I'd love to talk to you. And you're trying to separate that person on the other end of the phone from their money so that you can play with it, and can put it in the market.
Right.
With the mortgage side of it, it's the opposite. It's like, hey, Mr. Smith, this is Oliver. I have some great opportunities with rates to help save you money or get you into your dream home or your vacation home or your investment property or whatever it is. It's a tangible thing that you're able to connect them with to help them again, same pot of money, just the way you shift it around. And I just think, for me, looking at it, I would rather talk to a guy trying to give me a mortgage and give me money to do stuff with than a guy who's trying to take my money away and go play with it in the market. Which,
well, I'm giving money and you're trying to take money, so
right.
it's a softer call. But the industry has been great to me. I've been super successful, and I'm one of the top 100 brokers in the country on an independent mortgage side of things. So I'm an independent mortgage broker. I don't work for a Wells Fargo or a Rocket Mortgage or these big guys. We are literally a small bespoke team of 6 people. And I've grown my team organically. I've been through, the cycles that we talked about earlier. We adapted technology very early, ran things virtually for a while. When COVID hit, we were prepared to run things virtually. And this is when people were going to look at houses. You couldn't literally tour a house during COVID.
Right.
So you had a real estate agent wearing gloves and a mask walking through a house with a phone, sight unseen, and people were literally buying $500,000 properties, coming to guys like me and like, hey, I found a property. I live in Colorado. I'm moving to Florida because of the weather, because of COVID restrictions. I want to be out. And all of a sudden, here we are, doing loans in the 2s and 3s. So it was definitely a paradigm shift, but, we came out of it. A lot of people in my business didn't. And, the last year, we've seen half as many people in my industry fall to the wayside. And we've survived. And not only have we survived, we're growing, we're adding additional states, and we're getting really, a lot of momentum behind us.
Well, it's funny is markets like that, really, like coming out of markets like that, the people that are left are the people that are the people that have staying power. Like, look, you deal with a ton of realtors. I deal with a ton of realtors. There's 2 types of realtor in the world. There's realtors who get that closing check and go party for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, run out of money, and then are sweating how they're going to get to the next closing. And then there's realtors who understand this is a business and it's growth, and this is how I do it, and this is how systemically I make it work. In that market, the one and dones fell by the wayside, and everybody. It's funny is I lived in Atlanta in the mid 90s. Everybody was getting their real estate license because the Olympics was coming,
right,
and the market was going to be such a booming market. It didn't actually pan out to be that way, but I was working for a bank at the time. I was in my 20s. I got my real estate license just to have it. I hated real estate. It just doesn't work for me. It's too long. It's too drawn out. It's driving people around in a car. It just wasn't for me. But you could separate the people who know how to do it from the people who don't by a market like we had, because the people who aren't built for it end up falling out pretty quick.
Listen, when you can pick fruit up off the ground, it's easy to eat the fruit. When you got to climb up the tree with the ladder, get pricked by all this, the stickers on the tree and all the bugs and everything that's going to infest it to go to the top of the tree and pick the apple and bring it down. That's tough. And especially now with what's going on with the whole NAR settlement, you're going to have a lot of agents leaving the business because, it was really easy just to pick up buyers, take them to a house, sight unseen, and make yourself a nice big 5-6 figure check. And that's come to the end. And, I think it's good. It's going to cleanse the industry. It happened to us. It's going to happen to many industries across the country as we get more technologically advanced and customers get more savvy. Our average customer, by the time they come to us, has already looked at 5 to 7 houses online. They know what they want, and they're coming to us going, okay, now I need the money to buy it. And most of them don't have real estate agents. So, guys like me, that I have a team of referral partners that we send our deals to, we pre-qualify them, send them out. And those days of just doing 1 or 2 deals a year, I agree with you. And it's the same thing that happened in my industry. And it's just, this is a business that is rapidly changing. We're in a world with AI and technology and social media and the internet, you name it.
Change adapt or die.
And so many people are going to die. The school teachers and people that were doing this part-time, they're going to be out. And you know what? Good riddance, because I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how many times they've cannibalized deals on the other end and their clients.
Right.
Hey, my mom, my best friend, my brother's friend, this person. In reality, you need to work with a professional. And I say that to all my clients. Listen, it is time well spent, and make sure that you have that A team on your side.
And you brought this up, and I'm gonna just bring it up and kind of hit it home, and you could correct me if what I'm getting wrong.
Sure.
You mentioned the NAR settlement.
Yep.
So I've been talking to real estate agents about this because that happened. It's got to be at least 3 months ago or so. Maybe it might have been at the end of last year. So what this settlement is actually saying, people, is that if you're a real estate agent, there's no more going to be buyer's agency anymore. It's really only going to be the listing agent has the house and sell the house. So the reason I know about it is because what I do in my communities with my publications, I only deal with affluent homeowners. So talking to realtors, trying to get them to understand you want to be in front of these homeowners because that's now the only pond to fish in. It's just, there's no other lakes for you to, they're all drying up. And I
100%.
honestly, Oliver, I truly don't think a lot of real estate agents understand the severity of what that's going to cause for their business. Because when I explain to them, you want to get in front of the homeowners now as hard and heavy as you possibly can, they're kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not ready. And that's how I could tell the ones who get it from the ones who don't get it. But I mean, that's essentially what that NAR ruling is, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's essentially buyers now have to either pay their agents to show them properties, or their buyers' agents have to negotiate with the seller to cover their commission. So you're going to have a lot of buyers that are going to be unrepresented in this market, that are going to do their own research, come to a guy like me. And I always recommend hiring a professional realtor. There are so many things that go unnoticed. But when I say
contract.
I say professional, I mean somebody that does it full time, not somebody that does 1 or 2 deals a year. You want somebody as an advocate on your side. And we're in a very tight market. Inventory, especially in the Tampa Bay area, it's one of the hottest housing markets and has been for years. And the projections are property values are going to continue to go higher. Even as rates start coming down, the lower rates get, the more pool of buyers there's going to be available to purchase a limited amount of inventory.
Right.
And as a buyer's agent, you need to know that inventory. You need to know what's out there. But in reality, the sellers do control it now. And the people that are listing their homes, they have the key to the kingdom. And that's why you're seeing a fundamental shift in the amount of buyer's agents moving to listing agents. And you're going to see the likes of Zillow and Realtor.com. Those things are going to have to adapt because they make millions and millions and millions of dollars on buyers going through there.
Yep.
And guess who they get their information from? MLS. Who's MLS governed by? NAR. So in reality, that whole shift of how people are going to shop for homes is going to change. It's supposed to take effect in July. They haven't finalized it yet. So, a lot of people were interviewing a lot of the top agents in our industry just to get not only content, but to educate ourselves. My personal opinion, if you're out there shopping right now, go out there and buy a house before this all hits, because it may cost you an additional 2 to 3% of your purchase price. And the average home in the Tampa Bay area is over $400,000 now. So you can do the math.
Well, but the other part of it too is, there's 2 things you said there that are great is when the interest rate, because I'm going to say when, not if, but when the interest rate starts to dip, all those people that are sitting in their homes because they're saying, hey, I pay 3% or 2% interest right now. I don't want to sell it and go buy something and be at 7 or 8.
Yep.
If that interest rate comes back to about 5 or 4, now those people are going to say, oh, maybe now I can downgrade or do what they want to do. So there may be more homes available, but the reality is they're actually moving into another house too, or they're going someplace else. It's just going to put more buyers in the market. It is so crazy. And I saw this happen with the auto industry when the internet came out. So like there used to be, when I was a kid, you would go to the newsstand and there were like these auto trader books. And they would have it classified. It was just a book full of, first you see the sports cars, then you see this, then you see that. And all the dealers, the little dealers would have their stuff. The internet arrived and all that was gone. And then not only was it gone, now I could take that same 1996 Camaro and I could now put it into Kelley Blue Book and actually have access to see exactly what it's worth. So it's only worth $3,000, but you're asking $10,000. Now the whole negotiation, the whole process of car buying became a research game instead of a go and buy game. And that's what this is going toward. Maybe not on a bigger scale, but it's that same thing, right?
That's a great analogy. You want to go buy a BMW, you could put it in and find 20 deals. When I bought I bought an Audi, I leased it. I shopped 20 different dealerships. I literally took the quote, sent it out to all 20 and literally let them compete for my business.
Tell me what you can do.
That's exactly what's happening in our industry. The mortgage industry is people are going out, they're becoming savvier. Going to your local bank or your credit union is no longer a thing. Sitting in front of, Mary Sue, who's going to sit there and walk you through. That's not happening anymore. They call guys like me, they call guys like Rocket because it's easy. They go online, they're easy to access, and people are doing their research. Like you said, you don't have to schlep to the magazine stand. And the same thing used to be for home buying. You would get classified ads in the real estate section would be where you look for homes, or you hired a real estate agent. Now you have Zillow, now you have Realtor.com, Redfin, all these other aggregator websites. You literally as a consumer can type in 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 33629 and find a list of homes. call a guy like me, be pre-approved, and within 24 hours viewing that house. And we have some customers that literally within 24 hours of looking at the house are buying that house. It's nuts. And I mean, it's moving that fluid right now.
I mean, you think about this. Like, let's think of what buying a house was in, let's see, it's 2023. Let's see, 2000, let's say 1993. We'll go back to 30 years. You used to have to, hey, I want to buy a house. Okay, you see a house in the paper with a realtor's name, or you know a realtor. Hey, I'm going to go to Oliver. He's my local realtor. Hey, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. They plug it into MLS in their little back office. They're hitting Oz computer. It punches out a list of names. They say, okay, now I'm going to take you to see these couple of homes, or let's look at what these have. And then you have maybe, if you were lucky, some pictures on the MLS listing, right? So then you go and you look at those homes and you're driving around doing all that stuff. Then, well, are you pre-approved? It used to be, at least it was getting that way when I was doing it in like the mid-90s. Like, are you pre-approved? Do you have a pre-approval letter? If the smart realtors did that, or else people would just walk around day shopping, window shopping for houses. Now it's exactly what you said. That whole process is eliminated. I want to go right now, Redfin, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, Tampa Palms. I want to stay under 800,000. Boom, 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 boom. It gives me the 4 listings. Do I like them? Now I can take a video tour through them. I mean, the process is so streamlined. The big part of it is your side of it is having the money to fund the project is what it is.
Yeah. And credit's getting tighter right now. Credit's getting tighter because there's less inventory. We have unknown economic situations ahead of us. Nobody really knows what's going to go on with the economy. And as interest rates went from 2, 3, 4, now we're just below 7% for well-qualified buyers on 30-year fixed mortgages. Mortgage payments have jumped significantly. So, people that were looking at homes 2 years ago, and, I get probably the number one question we get is, do you think it's a good time to buy a home? And every time I sell somebody, yes, don't try to time the market and don't try to time interest rates. And if you bought a home anytime prior to today, there is a very high probability that home is worth more than what it was, then. And that's what people, especially in Florida, they hit the housing lotto. People were buying houses in 2019, 20. Those houses are 40, 50% more exactly. And, for all those people out there that have these unbelievable amount of equity, deploy that equity, use it to reinvest, go buy an investment property, start a business, fund your kids' school, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, equity is equity, man. And so many people are just sitting on a treasure trove of what they can be using out there to get their lifestyles even that much better.
It's funny is the same saying. I've heard it from, I've interviewed probably 24 mortgage guys, countless realtors. The same thing gets said over and over again in this market over the past, 18 months. Because before this market, it was your house goes on the market, have an open house. By Monday, we're going to take offers. And if you're not even 20 grand over with cash, you're not even getting a call back to say,
sure, right. You're 100%
from that market to this market. And the same thing I hear over and over again is marry the house and date the rate. That is the thing over, because you could always refinance the home. Find the house you love, stop screwing around, buy it now, get in on it while you can so that you have a chance to start to build some of that equity. Everybody's fear is it's going to be 2006 and they're going to buy a house that's inflated and all of a sudden the market's just going to plummet the way it did, and they're going to be upside down and stuck in that house for the next 10 years just until they can kind of recoup it. Even if the market did dip, I think that was an unprecedented
100%
time in history for that to happen. But
listen, I'm going to take
an election year. Crazy thing. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen with the economy in an election year.
I agree.
Like it's always kind of like everybody just kind of treads water waiting for what's going to happen. And then in November, when whatever happens, then we kind of start to see those paradigm shifts. That things just going to start to go in every direction.
I'm going to take that last snippet of yours and put it on my socials because you exactly summarized exactly how I feel. So many people are sitting on the sidelines now, and I respect that and I understand. I'm not here to tell anybody how to spend their money or not, but the longer you wait, and you can mark my words, the more expensive it's going to be. In 2007, 6, 7, and 8 were a whole different story. You had a bunch of very aggressive lending going on, 100% stated income loans and so forth. The average borrower now has a 730 credit score, and there's over 20% equity in their home. So even like you're talking about, even if the market corrects 10%, they're still sitting there in a great position. And you're going to continue to see that. And the problem is hedge funds and investment firms are buying up 40 to of the single family residents, especially in the Tampa Bay area. There's a big article that just came out, talks about that. Now you've got guys that have a unlimited checkbook that are going to buy up the inventory and going to drive prices even higher. And once that, that's already started happening. And that's why
that
rent
scale's going to tip, like the BlackRocks of the world.
Yeah, and the KK, yeah. And that's why, rents are so high, is because they can control the market. So, if you're out there, people, like I said, if you're out there now shopping, my advice, you like something, pull the trigger. If it's a little beyond your budget, spend the extra little money. A year from now, when rates do come down, and they will come down eventually, refinance that property, you'll build yourself some nice equity. And listen, you pay yourself 100% interest when you own a home. When you're paying somebody else's mortgage, you're renting a house, you're giving them free money essentially, and they're just building their equity. So again, we have so many people are sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And if I can leave you with one thing, don't wait. Call a guy like me, call your mortgage professional, get out there and start shopping, because when rates do come down, prices are just going to move higher, because there's going to be more of you out there shopping for the same product.
So listen, we spent almost 30 minutes just talking about, the conversation is so good that we're just talking about what's going on. I mean, I know you said you're a sports fan, but you also said you're a Florida fan. So I don't know how those two go together necessarily. I mean, maybe, those Aaron Hernandez days at Florida. But tell us a little bit about what you like to do for fun.
Sure. I love to travel. I'm a big foodie. I don't have any kids, which is fine. We're finding more of us out there that don't have the kids, but I'm big into sports. I like my wines, and I love to eat well and traveling. And I like, when I don't work, I'm big into, it's funny. I geek out on financial markets. I'm very, I love how the economies work and all the things that are going on, and just what is going on in the world right now. It captivates me, and it just makes me want to read and learn more. And now with AI coming out, so I'm big into technology as well. But sports is by far my number one thing. I'm a huge football fan. Sundays are, sacred to me. From 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I'm parked in front of a TV watching 7 hours of football.
Okay, so a couple things. First off, we'll touch on, you're a foodie. What is you're on death row? What is the last meal?
No, it's a great question, man. That's a tough one. I would probably have to say a lobster and a filet mignon, a little surf and turf.
A little surf and turf. All right, that's not a bad choice. I can give you that one. Vacations. Best vacation you've been on in the past 5 years. Where was it, and what made it great?
Amazing question. We went to Greece, Santorini, for our anniversary. And
the water's incredible, right?
It's like literally jumping into an aquarium pool. It's about as blue as can be. The people are incredible. The food's amazing. It's like, it doesn't seem like it's a real place on earth. It really doesn't. You walk everywhere. It's literally just this cliff walking down. I mean, it's like you eat, if you like octopus, they literally pull the octopus out of the water, slap it up onto a grate, cut the tentacles off, put it on a grill, and you're eating that thing 6 minutes later. So it's incredible.
Wow. All right, so that covered that covers the trip and the food on that one. Now let's just slide into sports. If you were ranking them in order, I'm assuming NFL is going to be number 1.
College football 2.
College football 2. 3 is baseball, or basketball.
I would do NBA, college basketball, then Major League Baseball. And I'm a hockey guy. Listen, I'm from New York, so I'm a diehard Rangers fan. I'm Knicks, Giants, Mets, Rangers. But I was in the Tampa Bay area at the time when the Lightning won a couple of their Stanley Cups, so that was incredible to see a Florida hockey team.
Yeah.
When the Rays are an incredible team, and I was fortunate enough to be there when the Bucks won some Super Bowls. So
we definitely have a couple things. Okay, so Giants, Knicks, Devils, but I'm Braves, because all my friends were Yankees fans. I did like the Mets when I was a kid, but when they traded their whole team away after '88, I kind of was done with them. But I will tell you, some of the stuff on my walls here, over here we have Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
Up here you can't see him, is Eli Manning. I had to switch him out. I had Saquon Barkley, whose name we don't mention anymore. That's the only
Eagle now. It's unfortunate.
And I had DJ down here, but I said, you know what? I got to go with some traditional old school stuff, because the new school stuff just wasn't working. What was your first Giant experience?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I lived in Westchester, New York. My grandfather took me to a Giants playoff game in '85, right when LT was coming out. And it was like the old school Phil Simms days, like that. Bill Parcells was the coach.
Okay.
And I've been a Giants fan ever since. And, it's been painful to be a Giants fan, as you know, for the past
decade.
Past 10 years, right. We had those 2 incredible Super Bowls where Eli beat the Patriots with, Tyree's catch and a couple of just amazing plays. But I don't know. We'll see. Daboll's got an interesting team. I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan. I hope we draft a quarterback in the draft, and we'll see where we go this year. We got a great pickup in the defense with Burns. I think the Giants are going to be all right. We're going to have a great defense again, which is what we've always built our team around.
I think the division is going to be tough. Washington's gotten better. Dallas is always going to be tough, but losing the playoffs. Philadelphia is good, but I think losing their center is going to affect
100%.
Their offense more than they're making it out to be. I'm not anti-Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones. I think the poor kid has like David Carr syndrome, where he's been shell-shocked so badly from the terrible offensive line.
No offensive line. Yeah.
So, I mean, some of that, I'm on the same page with you, but I will tell you my very funny first Giants experience. I'm a little bit older than you. The first Giant game I went to, the Giants moved into the Meadowlands in 76, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And my first game was 1978 when I was 6 years old. The Giants were playing the San Francisco 49ers, and San Francisco's star running back was this guy who used to play in Buffalo named O.J. Simpson. And you may have heard of him. He was involved in a scuttlebutt in the mid-90s. So my first game was going to see O.J. Simpson for the 49ers against the Giants. And those teams were bad. Like, those Giants teams were bad. LT came in 81, totally turned it around. But it's funny. I was listening to Chris Sims on the radio and thinking about Phil Simms, when I was a kid, 1979, he was drafted. He lived in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, right next to a friend of my dad, and knew I was a huge Giant fan. I had this, it wasn't even a real picture. Like, the way stuff was done back then, the 70s are like this anomaly of history. Everything was done weird. I had an autographed picture. It wasn't an 8.5 by 11. It was like a 5.5 by 11. It was like this long, narrow picture of Phil Simms with his blonde hair and his bowl cut. And it was in all practice whites, and it was signed to me. Mike, thanks for being a fan, Phil Simms.
Nice.
We had a flood in my basement like 2 years later in New Jersey, and the picture was gone. To this day, I'm 52. I'm going on 52. It still haunts me because you can see I have all this crap in my house. But yeah, I've been a Giants fan through thick and thin. Giants won in 2008, the Plaxico Burress catch for the touchdown. I had like 50 people in my house, and I was living about 3 miles from Giant Stadium.
Oh, wow.
When he caught that ball, my whole block, every neighbor was out beeping their car horns. It was crazy. It was like one of those things you just don't forget. So we may have to catch a game at some point. I know you do like being in front of the Red Zone channel. I do too, to watch football.
It's the best. And I'm a fellow Jersey.
My girlfriend has tickets to the Bucs, so she ropes me into going out there and frying like a piece of bacon.
I'm a fellow Jersey myself. I was born in Morristown, so that's
okay. So you're Morristown. You're out Route 80. This is like you know where the Sheridan Terra is, right?
Of course.
In Morristown. Yeah. I had my senior prom there. It was very, very cool back then when it was going on. It was only a few years old at that point,
nice.
But yeah, man, I know that area really well. I've driven past there a lot. A girlfriend from high school went to Morris Knolls, which is right up in that area. Yeah. So small world, definitely a small world. So listen, Oliver, let me ask you this.
Sure.
To wrap it up, if I'm looking to get a mortgage, if I'm looking to buy a house right now, the first step is calling you to make sure I have the funding. How do people find you? You listening to this podcast, watching it, what's the best way to get to you to get the ball rolling?
Sure. Easiest way is we call us at 813-302-1660. That's our main line. Somebody will pick up that phone, schedule a call with us, or you can go to our socials. It's the THE Orlicki Group, ORLICKI GROUP. And I'll put this all, send it all to you.
Yeah, we'll have all this in the when we post.
Google Orlicki Group, and we're all over, we're very highly ranked Google, but we have an online application. It takes 15 minutes to fill out. Once you complete an application with us, we schedule a consultation, and I'm not just going to ask you some basic questions. We spend a good 45 minutes to an hour. We dive deep, dig deep. We want to make sure we write you a pre-approval letter. Besides that house appraising and inspecting, you're going to be able to close on that property. And we know our guidelines. We know our products. So easiest way to get in touch with us, socials, online, phone call, text message. We're available anyway. We're not a bank. I'm not open 9 to 5. Real estate's a 24/7 business. We're available on weekends. We realize a lot of people shop on weekends, so we'll always have somebody you can talk to. I've had clients that were purchasing that are living in Tokyo buying Florida property. I got up at 3:30 in the morning to conduct a consultation to do it. So we are 24/7.
So that brings up a good point, though. If someone is buying a house in Dallas, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Roanoke, Virginia, they can still come to you. The money's good anywhere.
Well, we're getting there. So licensing's changed a little bit since back in the day. So now there's called the NMLS. It's a national licensing system. So before you used to be able to lend pretty much anywhere. Now you've got to be nationally licensed, go through a bunch of, accreditation, get all your licenses. By the end of the second quarter, we'll be licensed in about 12 states. We just recently added Tennessee and we recently added Pennsylvania. We're going to be adding Georgia, Texas, Colorado, Arizona, South Carolina. We have a lot of clients that have either retirement homes in those areas. So right now, primarily my focus is on the Florida market.
Florida. All right.
Yep.
So folks, if you're listening to this, before you start looking at Redfin or Zillow and get your hopes up on that $900,000 dream home, it's important for you to know what you can actually afford, what your buying power is, how much you make, what your credit score is, how much you're going to put down, and about 15 minutes worth of diving deep to make sure we understand, the Orlicki Group understands where you're at currently before you go start looking at it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a home buyer and you go look at a $900,000 home and you can only afford a $400,000 home, you're going to be really disappointed in the features that you are not getting. So you want to make sure you're looking at the right home that fits your budget, fits your needs. And the way to do that, the first step before you do anything, call 813-302-1616. You will get a hold of the Orlicki Group. They will walk you through the process. We will include all of the socials and websites and all that stuff in this post when you're seeing it or listening to it. Oliver Orlicki, thank you so much for being a good neighbor, man. Thank you so much for being on the Good Neighbor podcast.
Mike, it was a pleasure, man. I appreciate you having us.
Go Giants, baby.
Go Giants, man.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Passcode. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasscode.com. That's gnppasscode.com or call 813-922-3610.